underestimate the power of PlayStation.
So,
moving on. What else we got?
Staying with Square Enix for a second. They announced that they're asking developers to pitch ideas for games based on Gex, Fear Effect, and Anachronox. So this is part of they had a program where they're like, hey, now that we have IDOS, we have all these properties that we don't care about.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to make games about them, you can.
That's the best thing they
I think it's
possibly
fascinating.
do.
A lot of people don't really know that part of game development is that there are studios that are...
They just own things?
Yeah, but I mean, there are studios that finish a project and they're waiting for their next one to come along, and they just go... Do you guys want to make a mock Gears of War game and see if Epic wants to buy it? And they just put together this pitch, and then it never sees the light of day, and then it ends up on a site like Unseen64. Shout out to those guys again. So I think
Are you on their payroll? What is
yeah, happening? I am.
he just loves good things, and he wants to spread the word.
So I think this is really cool, and it's also like the Gex thing is amazing to me because that is so 90s.
Yep.
It is such a 90s character. Like everything about that guy is garish and neon and beautiful.
Dana Gould.
Yeah, and it's just like it's a Paula Poundstone jacket. Like it's just amazing.
So I printed off the Wikipedia page because I didn't realize Gex had a story. Brian, if you want to read just a couple paragraphs of the Gex story, start at story, go to the next page. This story gets weird.
Gex and his family live in Maui, Hawaii. His mother raised him and his 3 younger siblings while their father worked for NASA. What?
Yep.
Gex's hobbies include spending time with his friends, surfing, playing the ukulele, and throwing poi parties. It feels like they tried to write pot, and then they just skip the letter, and it's the same thing. One day, Gex's mother... This keeps going. One day, Gex's mother gets a phone call from NASA. What? Explaining that Gex's father and 10 human volunteers died when their rocket exploded on the launch pad. According to the manual, the explosion was caused by a Band-Aid floating in one of the fuel tanks. Soon, the Gecko family's carefree life is shattered when Gex bottles up his emotions and takes refuge in front of the television to get over the tragedy, only to become obsessed. 3 weeks later, he becomes an addict to TV. Wow, so Gex is really based on the death of a paternal figure and the serious depression that follows from television addiction. 3 weeks later, he becomes an addict to TV after several unsuccessful attempts to get Gex to stop watching TV and consulting with a minister and friends at work. Wow, he turned to religion for a moment. Gex's mother decides it is time for a change. The Gecko family moves to Encino, California, home of Pauly Shore. Gex's TV is taken away and he flees from home. After several months of living on the streets, Gex inherits an enormous amount of money and he moves back to Maui to live in a mansion and buys the world's largest TV. This is still going. Are you kidding me? While watching TV one day, Gex swallows a passing fly, not knowing it is sort of a miniature transmitter. You don't need any of the story before this to get to where we are right now. Moments later, a huge hand shoots out of the screen and grabs Gex by his neck, pulling the young Gecko into his own TV. The cold claw belongs to Rez, the overlord of the media dimension, who intended to make Gex his new mascot and conquer the world. This is still going. Gex traverses through the worlds of the media dimension based on different genres, the cemetery, New Toonland, and many, many more, which I'm not reading. This is amazing.
Yep.
Okay, so I really think we ought to ask listeners, viewers, to just submit their best Gex pitches for the sequel.
See, I would love to see a Gex that is given the same level of like character rebuilding that the new Tomb Raider was given. Like, I want all of that. I want it to be the most bleak game about a lizard wearing sunglasses you've ever seen.
Kenneth Branagh's Gex.
Yeah. I want Darren Aronofsky's Gex.
Oh, there we go.
I want the wrestler, but with Gex.
Oh.
The Gexler.
That's really all whenever there's a dumb 90s video game character, I'm like, I want a game that's like that crossed with the wrestler.
You want
that
character to get a job at the meat counter and he cuts his finger and he's just bleeding all over the place.
I really do want a Duke Nukem game where he's like meeting his daughter and he's like, hey baby, and she's like, why don't you ever call mom? And he's like, I've got balls. She's like, no, stop.
Man, you really like Duke Nukem. I didn't realize that.
Why would 10 humans work with a lizard at NASA? I'm stuck on this. I'm sorry.
Experimentation, maybe.
I'm sorry. So this is what they're throwing out there. They're like, anybody can make this game.
Yeah.
Can they throw this story away?
No, they shouldn't.
Why
would
would
you?
On
a kind of parallel note, did you guys play Bubsy 3D?
Yeah. Oh, they're really interesting.
The newest one?
Yeah,
the
one
Arcane Kids?
Yeah.
Where Bubsy goes to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the LACMA. Mm-hmm. It's the weirdest thing. You guys at home, you should all go find this. You can play it for free online. It's a weird Unity game. It's about Bubsy dying and going to hell after visiting an art exhibit.
That sounds amazing.
It's the best thing. It's just the best thing.
No, I've never played this.
I want this to happen to Gex. Like, I want a thing where they're like, why can't we explore this lizard character? Why... Clearly, there's a lot of stuff to explore. There's a lot of deep themes.
I like your kind of wrestler angle where everyone's telling him to let it go, but it's just specifically about the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's actually, which is interesting because we live in a 90s obsessed generation right now.
Sure.
Where people are just like, oh, you can't remember about the 90s, the snap
Pogo balls.
Like, shut up. Stop
Pogo
remembering
balls.
the 90s and start living now. But I like this idea of this character just being stuck back there, and he doesn't understand why, because... He started watching TV out of addiction and depression because his dad died at NASA. What the hell?
Dude, games are weird, right?
Yeah.
Band-Aids are very dangerous in rocketry.
Also, what a totally just bizarre piece of minutia.
I know.
Like, here's the debris, the specific debris that caused the death of this cartoon gecko's father.
Dude, this is still the least weird thing about the 3DO. That story right there. I mean, that's honestly, as weird as all that is, all of that is far less weird than the existence of the 3DO in the first place, which led to the existence of Gex. So I mean...
All right, so let's bring that little lizard back.
He's coming back soon. Game of the year, 2016.
Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.